Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of No Holds Barred. My name is Stephen Knight, and I'm here with U.S. Senate candidate Nikayla Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Now, would you tell us a little bit about yourself? That way we get to
Mhm.
know you a little bit better.
Yes, I am a active duty military spouse. My husband is in the Army. He's actively deployed right now. I'm an autism mom, and I'm a neurotypical mom as well. I am a nurse and a Chickasaw Native, and I'm originally from Ardmore, Oklahoma,
Okay.
born, bred, and raised. And I am Black, white, and Native American. My mother's Black and Native, and my dad is white.
Okay.
Um, I I was trying to think of something else I could say, but I feel like if I keep going on, you'll never get me to stop. So you go ahead.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time out. I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little nervous reaching out because I honestly thought, no, I don't have time for this. But that was I'm still shaking a little bit at this point, but we're gonna get right into it. I want to ask you, what motivated you to get into politics?
So I was never one. Okay. So I've always been a leader. One thing about me is I've always been a person that always put my best foot forward, and I always said to myself, if it's not going to get done, then I have to do it. If I want anything done right, it has to be done by me. And as I was seeing everything unfold over the last 100 days, I was just like, well, especially after the election, I was like, this isn't right. Nothing is right. I read through Project 2025, and I saw how they were going to dismantle all of these government agencies, and I was just like, there's no way. Well, then when I had saw that they were going to dismantle the Department of Education, I had started getting very, very, very iffy about that due to the fact that my son is autistic and he relies on IEPs, he relies on IDEA, he relies on the protections that the um, the, the the Department of Education ultimately gives. So I was just in disbelief. I have always been an advocate on behalf of everyone that I've known, and hence me being a nurse. So that's part of my job is to advocate and to be able to stand up when people can't stand up for themselves. And knowing that my son is only 7 and he has level 2 autism and he don't have a word for himself, I said, well, there's many other children out there. There's many other vulnerable people out there that I obviously need to get out here and take care of. So I was seeing I apologize. My dog, every time that I end up getting on live, she always has to use the bathroom.
Oh, you're
So I
fine. You're fine.
apologize.
You're fine.
Um, but I definitely, coming from a black household and having black, growing up with the black morale and the black ethics and the black code, because I was primarily raised with my mother and her family. We, I always knew, and I had always heard that if you want something done right, you're just going to go out and do it yourself. So that was ultimately my driver for sure.
Okay. That that's absolutely perfect. So I get where your values came from. That's mainly how I got into what I'm doing as well.
Hmm.
And you probably been doing it and following it a lot longer than I have, but I just recently started back in October, so this is
Hmm.
still a fairly new thing to me. Now I'm going to get into something that's going to drive it a little bit. See where you're following.
Okay.
What are you going to do to prevent our bills to? What are you going to do to prevent to basically continue to pay our bills here in Oklahoma? What is your plan
So,
there?
so on a federal level, because that's what I'll be on, because I won't be doing Senate level, I'm going to be, hmm, that's a good question because I could also elaborate more on this as well. So I love it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ultimately help um, pass legislation and also be the voice of the Oklahomans and showing the Oklahomans that we do have someone that represents us in the best way possible, someone that's not just trying to fight on the floor, someone who's actually representing our best interests. So there's a few things that I want to be able to help the Oklahomans out with, especially in the education sector. The education sector, we are 48th, 49th, I'm sorry, 49th in education. And we have had this senator in office since 2022, but he's been a rep since 2012, and he shows no type of experience in what he does because he obviously has shown us that he does not have our best interests at heart. So because we have no results from him, that's what I'm trying to say. So
I think I
I don't
know
know
who
if
you're.
this is
I think I know who you're talking about too, because I've been.
Mark Wayne Mullen. Yes,
Yes. Without
yes.
trying to name drop, I know exactly who you were talking about.
Oh, we're going to name drop all the time because one thing about it is that he didn't get held accountable enough, so we're holding him accountable now.
There you go.
That's what we're doing.
Perfect. 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 How do you ensure that you are representing the views of your constituents?
It's because I'm an everyday Oklahoman. I work, I pay taxes, I have to do everything that everyone else does. I did not come from money. I did not come from privilege. So therefore, I represent the vast majority of the Oklahomans because there's only a small percentage that actually has money and that actually has some type of, gainful opportunities. So, with that being said, I do represent most of the Oklahomans, whether they want to believe that or not.
Okay. Perfect. What are your key priorities if you are elected? What start rattling them off.
Yeah, so education, LGBTQIA rights, also minority rights. The nurses, making sure that nurses have fair, equitable treatment. Immigration, making sure that we have fair policies with immigration, making sure that our people are not that elite that are here even regardless. We don't need to know their immigration status because I don't just go up to someone and say, hey, what's your immigration status? That's just not a thing. That's not what we do. But making sure that they're protected and they're not just being ripped from their homes, especially the children. But the children of Oklahoma is really the biggest priority, is making sure that they have a brighter future and they are actually they're getting a head start or the same opportunities that we've had growing up in Oklahoma. Because when I was in school, we had a Democratic governor and we were 17th in education. So there's no reason why our children should be lacking, therefore better words for me. They shouldn't have the same opportunities that we have. They're our future. They're the next generation.
Okay. 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 Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is, what do you want your legacy to be once you leave the position if you're there, if you get elected?
Oh, that's a good question because I guess I haven't really just thought about it from my own perspective. Is that because I've just really been thinking about more of the Oklahomans and what I'm going to do for the Oklahomans. But the legacy that I want to be able to leave is that Black women get it done.
Okay.
Black women get it done. But I would be the first Black woman to sit in this seat. And I know that there's a lot of controversy about that. That's going on because, I'm more, my skin tone kind of blacks. And, we kind of have, like, it's just been an issue with some people that I'm claiming that I'm Black, but I come from a Black woman. But what I'm trying to say is that I would be the first woman to sit in this seat, but let alone the first Black woman. So I want this to be as historic as possible and put on for the Black community and say, look, show the little girls out there that say, look, someone like me can get in this position and maybe you can get in this position as well.
Awesome. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I'm catching it. It definitely makes sense to me.
Okay. Sorry about that because like I said, I can just ramble on because I'm so passionate about things. So I'll start kind of getting off track because I'll start having an idea because I am neurodivergent myself. I have ADD.
Right.
So there's so many things that I'm just so passionate about that I can just hit on every topic, but I can start just like zigzagging everywhere. So I just try to make sure that I'm staying on topic and I'm staying like right there with you.
Okay. Now I do have a question for you, and this is definitely going to hit on the federal level.
Mm-hmm.
If you get into office, are you going to hold our current sitting president accountable for everything that he's currently doing?
100%. That's one thing about it is that they can't just get up there and think that they can do whatever the hell they want to do. Excuse my language. They cannot just sit up here and think that nobody's going to get up there and start egging them on. Like, I'm not going to be the person that's just going to be a yes man. So this is my mantra myself, is that I'm kind, not nice. Kind is standing up for what's right when no one else is doing it. And nice is being a yes man and just trying to be liked by everybody. My goal is not to be liked. My goal is to get up there, get things done, and tell it like it is, and just and get out of here in 6 years, because this position is not like, politicians are not supposed to be in office as long as they are. They're supposed to serve publicly. They're not supposed to make a career out of being a politician. They're supposed to serve their constituents. And then, when they've done their part, they have to let the next person come in. That's just what I think. That's not what everyone else thinks. I mean, it may not be what everyone else thinks, but I just feel like having career politicians that are in these seats for 18, 19, 20 years, it just doesn't make sense, especially when you don't really do anything. Um, some of these seats that are in Oklahoma has always went uncontested. So people actually don't realize how important local elections are. And I'm gonna say that I wasn't the person that knew that local elections were super important, because I just thought that everyone would do it for me. People would make the right decisions for me. I felt like everyone had that cognition and that cognitive capacity to just be like, this person really does think for the kids. They think for me, like they actually have the best interest in mind. Until this past election, that's when I realized that we don't think alike. We do not think alike. Made me realize that maybe my IQ was higher than I thought it was, for sure. And that's not even me talking crap. That's just me being realistic about this. 800,000 people voted for Kamala versus the 1 million that voted for the other side. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Now, I'm getting a bunch of questions. I'm going to go ahead and start spitting some of these off. What bill are you going to try to push through the Senate first if you are elected?
That is a great question. Well, for one, I want to be able to make sure that no president has immunity to any point.
Yes.
That's one thing that I do not want. I want every president to be held accountable for any crime that they do. Also making sure that you cannot be a felon if you are running for any public office. You cannot be a felon. And I understand that. And one thing about me is, because I'm with prison reform as well, because Black people are the most incarcerated minority or race on the spectrum that actually gets incarcerated, and we get incarcerated for the most dumbest things. So I understand, if this is like a minor charge, things like that. So that's why I want to drop the minor charges and get felons, or people get those charges off of their record, because of the fact that those are stupid. Those are very dumb charges to have, and they should be able to run for office. Okay. But if you've been doing things kind of like what the current administration is doing and what they've been accused of, then baby, there's no reason that you should even be in this office. You should have never had an opportunity to run whatsoever.
Now, I know that you're running for Senate for Oklahoma, but can you
Mm-hmm.
tell all of the listeners that are listening right now,
Mm-hmm.
where can they find you and where can they donate to you for your campaign?
Yeah, so you can find me on all socials except X. I will never be on X. At Nikayla for OK. All socials except X. Do not go look for me on X because you won't find me. So Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitter. Gosh, Instagram and Facebook. Facebook, it's Nikayla Nikayla Jasmine Thomas for U.S. Senate 2026. So I'm there. And then you can also find my website, which is Okies First. So it's OKIESFIRST.com. And that's where you can find out everything about me. We have an ActBlue. We have a link tree in our bio. That's with our ActBlue, which ActBlue is not doing anything that's under the table. They've been having a lot of issues with the current administration, saying that they're doing laundering, which is stupid because they have not done anything. They haven't even they barely take money from me. They're supposed to get a little percentage, just to kind of help, keep up with like the web paging, web hosting, things like that, and keeping it as fair as possible. But they barely even take anything from me. So I don't know what they're talking about. I think that they're just I think that this administration is trying to just take away the grassroots power from, they are. I know that they're trying to take the grassroots power from the Democrats. But you can go to that link tree and you can donate, you can support, you can buy the merchandise. Because right now we're kind of just on the fence of getting our funds. So what another thing that I would take out of the like a bill that I would just definitely try to push for is getting money out of politics, because this has been the hardest thing. Like we are in, I can't claim that it's a official recession yet, but in my opinion, we're in a recession where people can't even get jobs. There's no opportunities that's being available because there's no resources in Oklahoma. There's nothing that can help out the people that actually live there, that live here. There's nothing that they can do because of the fact that there's nothing that's allotted to them. So, people are broke. People don't have the money to be able to give like they used to do back, like 20, 30 years ago. So people are just, giving out what, and I love it. And I love it that they're giving out what they can because, oh my gosh, they have been my lifeline. But I say all this to say this because I told you I had ADD. Is that,
It's okay. I'm ADHD here, and all four of my children are on the spectrum, so I completely
oh,
understand.
yes, but but where I was going with this is that we have to raise up to $5,000 in order for us to even be looked at by big donors, and that's what we're really looking at right now. Because with money being in politics, we can't even get we can't even get looked at by big donors or people who actually think that we're actually great candidates until we actually meet a threshold, which is stupid. But, we do have to make sure that, we can afford palm cards, we can afford to pay the staff, things of that nature, which is crazy. And I just want to like shout out to my campaign manager, Braden, who's been making everything shake for me. I don't ever have to worry about anything. He works the TikTok for me, most of the socials. I'll get on every once,
Okay.
stay on there a lot of the time, but most of the videos and everything, like he just hits it right on the nail, and he's really just been working so hard to he got everything up and running to make sure that I was going to be a big name in Oklahoma.
Okay. Um. Okay. Women's rights. I'm going to ask you point blank. What are you going to do
Hmm.
about those? Because we know that this current administration has been trying to take away women's rights left and right. And
Hmm.
before you answer the question, everybody that's watching it, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you continue to tap
Yes,
those.
thank you.
Make sure you tap those screens. And also, go and follow her. She's right here on TikTok as well. That's how I found her. So go and make sure that you're following that page. Even if you don't live in Oklahoma, go ahead and go and support her.
Donate, donate, donate. That's how we're going to be able to overcome um, the reg- uh, the Republican administration. Just donate,
Yeah.
donate if you support me. I mean, like if you support the cause.
And I'm also going to
I oh, go ahead. I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
No,
I'm also gonna have all of her links in the post description of this video. That way you guys can find her as well. But
thank you.
women, women's rights. What are you gonna? I know you said you're gonna hold the president accountable for taking all
Mhm.
of those away. What are you gonna do to keep women's rights in your best interest?
So there's a couple of bills that have been introduced into legislation prior to the Trump administration coming into play. And right now, I don't know why I can't think of the exact name that's actually the name of it. I don't know why I can't think of that, but I just spoke on it a couple of days ago, and it's a Privacy Act for women. And the Privacy Act, it's like the Data Privacy Act, where they can't get a hold of your information. Like this would be part of the Constitution at this point. I want to be able to push for these things where you can't get a hold of women's information from like app tracking
Is it
and
the Save Act?
mm, I'm sorry.
Is it the?
No, the Save Act is where the voters.
Okay.
So they were trying to make sure that if your name didn't match up to
Oh.
your records, then you can't vote.
Okay.
So yeah, or immigration as well. So like you have to prove that you are a citizen of the United States, which I don't understand because that's already like that's already a
That's
thing.
already in
Like
place.
yes, that's already a thing. So it's very confusing. A lot of these bills that they push are just redundant and they're just out of control. But they like to play the loophole game. So like if they find something that's a loophole in what's already produced, I guess, then they'll just try to produce a bill to kind of, close that gap. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Or try to manipulate it. But I definitely would. I would definitely keep pushing for these things where they can't be compromised. Their health records and their business just can't be compromised. But I also want to be able to mobilize more women clinics, like even when I say mobilize, like mobile clinics that protect these women and that also do a lot of the advocacy work for on behalf of women. But I also want to do that for Black women as well, because we know that Black women die at higher rates
Right.
during childbirth, and so I want to be able to give more doula access, more culturally competent care for the Black community to be able to thrive and not die. Like we don't live in the 1700s. There's no reason that Black women should be dying during childbirth. There's no reason. But I also want to have more providers, Black providers. That's part of the culturally competent care. I want to be able to put more clinics in these areas that have people that's familiar with them. And this is for women as well, by the way. This is not just for the Black community, for the minorities, because it suits everyone. But I want to be able to put these where they have local people that they know that's been in the community that, is because HIPAA laws. So they can't just go out into the community and tell, they're going to lose their licenses. But yeah, I want them to have a peace of mind that somebody that's one of them is taking care of them. One of us is taking care of them. But that's with women's rights. We have a lot to talk about with women's rights. We have a lot of things that we can just hit on, and we could try to, keep going and going and going and trying to justify a lot of things. But women's health is non-negotiable. Women's rights is non-negotiable. So I'm going to push to stop anything that could ever be a detriment to women.
That's absolutely amazing. I have time for one more question.
I'm sorry. I can't.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
you're fine. You're fine. You're doing just fine. I have this question, and it's been in the back of my mind, and comments are coming in as well. LGBTQ rights.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that some of them are embedded in the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do to keep this administration from stripping all of those rights away?
Hold them accountable. Anytime that they try to do anything that, like, the accountability is the word. Like, I don't know how else to say that. Like, I mean, we can go on to elaborate, but the thing is that once you get there into that situation, you have to really you have to look at the situation and assess it and see how you could actually do things. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to strip them from their rights. But all I have to say is no. All I have to do is vote against it. All I have to do is lobby. Not lobby. All I have to do is go outside like Senator Cory Booker did and stand against it. But I'm never going to vote against the LGBTQIA rights or taking anything in the trans community. Vote against anything that goes on. I don't know how else to put that, because everything is case by case. Does that make sense? So like, yes, I have to really just be there to assess that, because one thing about it is my mother is a lesbian. She's been a lesbian my whole life. And so I always call myself the beta child, or the beta generation that actually had parents that were still kind of, in the closet, and, or, you had two same-sex parent households, and it was taboo still. People still looked at that as being weird. So I walked so this generation could run, so I know what it's like to kind of be, I'm hetero myself, I'm cisgendered. So I don't know what it's like to be in their shoes to see that multifaceted stigma, but I definitely know what it's like to be the child, to actually see what's going on and to actually be the brunt of certain jokes. And the LGBTQIA is not a joke. They're not to be played with. These people deserve to love. Like, I just want people to mind their business, and I'm going to stand up at every level to make sure that their business is not minded by somebody else's, because at that point they're perverted. If they're in their genitals, in their love life, or anything like that, if you're not invited into whatever the hell they got going on, then maybe at this point you need to be in jail.
Exactly. It shouldn't be left up to the government to decide who we can love, what we
Hmm.
do. It's basic human decency, is basic human rights, and
Hmm.
I completely agree with that.
Hmm. It
Um,
is. And I want to be able to actually get that. I can't think of the word right now. I've been lost for words for the past couple of days, and it's probably just because there's so much going on, especially with having to take care of two kids by myself right now. And also, kind of campaigning and trying to do everything. It's just a lot that's going on, but I want to make sure that it's going to be in our constitution that these things cannot, like, engraved. I need it engraved in the constitution that these things cannot be treaded on at this point, like LGBTQIA, women's rights, taking out, trying to trying to resegregate schools, or segregate people, not schools. I'm sorry, I'm spreading this information, but trying to, the DEIA,
right,
the DEIA situation, that should be solidified in the Constitution.
right,
So I want to make sure that these bills are being passed to be put in there so nobody can tread on them, because we all know that the Constitution is a law of the land. So our rights should definitely be be to be laws of the land as well.
right. Nikayla, thank you so much for your time. I do
Oh,
appreciate it
absolutely.
for you actually coming out, talking to us, and for everybody that's on TikTok that is listening right now. If you missed part of the interview, it will be available on Spotify and it will be available in full on YouTube. It will also include all of Nikayla's links as well. And if you live in Oklahoma, get out there and advocate. Get out there and vote for as well in 2026. I know I am at this point, because we need someone to represent us, not what we currently have in office. Nikayla, thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephen. I hope you have a great night. Thank you so much.
You as well. Thank you.